Welcome back to another episode. My name is Eddie Monares. I am the senior editor of Express Magazine, and today I'm joined by Jassen Todorov. He's a professor in the School of Music, teaches violin. How you doing today?
Very good, thank you.
Just want to get into it. First question: what's your background? Where'd you grow up? What's your kind of origin story?
Yeah, well, I was born in Bulgaria in a family of musicians. And then I came to the U.S. I was offered a full scholarship in Southern California at a high school called Idaho Arts Academy, which is a great school for music and the arts. And then I finished my high school there. And then I continued with my college. I went to Florida for my bachelor's and then to upstate New York for my master's and doctorate, majoring in music. And then while I was doing my doctorate in music, I also started flying planes, and I got my pilot's license.
You said you came from a family of musicians. How did you start playing violin? Was it always violin for the start, or was it different instruments here and there, and you kind of landed on violin after?
No, my father was a very distinguished professor of music in Bulgaria, and he was a violinist, and he was also a concertmaster of the orchestra. And so I pretty much didn't have much choice. It was given to me, and I liked it, and I enjoyed it. My older sister played the piano. My mom also played the piano, but I have been practicing playing the violin now for the past 45 years. I'm 50.
Wow, that's crazy. How is it when you go back to Bulgaria? I know you've played violin shows, you're a pilot, you've done all these things. When you go back there, are you kind of like a local legend? Are you pretty famous out there? Or is it just, normal?
Well, I have a following, and I have been playing all over the world, really. Bulgaria is my home, and so, of course, I know a lot of people, and I'm fairly well known. I didn't play there for a while now because of COVID and all the other reasons. And Bulgaria is a beautiful country. It's a small country in the Balkans, but it's very beautiful, and I enjoy it. I love going there. Any chance I have, I'm always enjoying being there.
You've mentioned playing all over the world. Where's the favorite place you've ever performed?
Oh, there's too many to list, but I would say I like a lot. Well, let's see. I enjoy playing in Germany a lot. The audiences are fantastic there, very quiet. And the same with Russia. Really cultivated, very educated audiences. When you perform, everyone in the audience is very, very silent. And they really respect musicians. They realize the difficult work that goes into the craft. And so they respect that a lot. So I would say out of that point of view, Germany, Russia, and France in that area, yeah, they are very well educated, very respectful for the musicians. In the U.S., the audiences are pretty good for the most part, and they're very appreciative as well. In some other parts of the world, for example, in China, there are different types of China areas. For example, if I play at the university, the students are wonderful. Pretty much any university that I've played or given lectures, the university students are very appreciative. Their colleagues are wonderful. There's a small country in the Balkans called Macedonia, a town called Ohrid. I love performing there. I've been playing there and judging a competition now for the past 20 years or so. And the competition takes place in a church that was built in the 12th century. And so the acoustics are phenomenal, Saint Sophia Church. And so I have a performance coming up there in June. And I look forward to visiting the town of Ohrid. I mean, there's just so many places all over the world that one can think of. And of course, there are the great concert halls, such as the Carnegie Hall and Concertgebouw in Amsterdam. It's always a pleasure to play in beautiful concert halls.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned something that was kind of interesting to me when you first answered. You said Germany, Russia, they have silent crowds. Is that kind of something that's not normal, or is it normal for the crowd to be silent? How important is it when you're playing for the crowd to be like that?
Well, I mean, you're focused, you're concentrated on the music, and how pleasant do you think it feels for the performer when people start unwrapping candy or start coughing or start talking to one another, right? The concentration, the focus suddenly is lost. So what you want, ideally, is an audience that is attentive and respectful of the artist. That's a different type of venue. If you go to a bar, if you go to a club, it's much more relaxed. But the concert hall, the setting is almost spiritual. It almost feels like a beautiful church you attend, and you are attending a performance. And in a way, it's time to meditate. It's a way to connect with your higher self.
Is there a moment from your music career that you're most proud of?
Oh, there have been, again, many moments. I couldn't say there's one particular one, but there's many times that I have been very happy and it felt right. And it felt like, okay, I've been doing this and now it feels so good to be on stage. And there have been also some embarrassing moments as well. I mean, musicians will have a lot of highlights, and every once in a while you will have a bad night. And by bad, I mean, there's distractions, the piano doesn't feel well, or it's not tuned well, so you can't really tune your violin to the piano. Sometimes the orchestra is not at their top shape. Sometimes the conductor makes an error, and so you have to cover up, right? We are all working together. So when you work with orchestras, with various pianists, sometimes you will have a bad night for one or another reason. And so the trick is how you can learn from those experiences and those challenges so that you can overcome them in the future.
That's really interesting. I never really thought about a musician having a bad night. That's actually really interesting. Is it common, or is it every once in a while?
Well, I mean, there's different levels of bad night, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes you will practice, let's say, some difficult passages, some different difficult compositions, and they will come out fine. But the easier parts that you've neglected might be a little more sloppy. And so now you're saying, okay, I got to go back to the practice room and again practice. Because music and performing classical music is a very humbling experience. It really humbles you, because at the moment you think you're too good, something happens. And so that's an opportunity for you to go back and humble yourself and be modest and say, okay, I'll try it again.
Sounds a lot like sports, because I'm a big sports fan. So everything you're describing, working with a team, not your night, you got to go back to the drawing board, back to practice things. It's really interesting, that comparison.
Absolutely.
It sounds a lot like sports.
And the same with photography and flying.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all the same. And teaching, by the way. Mm-hmm. I've been teaching now for 22 years. And my students will challenge me. And sometimes they'll ask questions to which I don't have answers. Sometimes I will tell them, well, let me think about this and get back to you, right? Sometimes they will challenge you. They'll catch you doing something that is not quite, or your message is not conveyed correctly. And so you have to be very clear with your language and the way you present yourself in front of the classroom or in the concert hall. I
want to ask this question. I know you've been doing music for 45 years. What does it mean to you? Because for me, I enjoyed listening to music. I listen to music doing anything and everything. So from your perspective as a musician, what does it mean to you?
Again, as I said earlier, it's a spiritual experience. You go with the flow of your energy. I want to be playing the violin. I want to do it today. I want to do it tomorrow. I know that's my calling, that's my passion, that's my mission. Now, what does that mean, and how does that affect my overall life? Well, for many musicians, finding the balance is perhaps the most challenging area, because music, the depth, the experience that you challenge yourself with on stage, in the practice room, you feel like, my goodness, the more I learn, the less it feels as I know anything, right? So it's a philosophical experience. It's a spiritual experience. The more you learn, the more you realize that we are just little tiny humans here little tiny souls trying to serve a greater purpose. And that greater purpose has a spiritual meaning. Why am I driven so much to go and communicate with audiences through my violin? I don't have that answer.
When did you know you wanted to teach violin? Because I think, like, connecting it to sports again, I'm a big sports fan. Sorry to keep doing this, but we've seen a lot of athletes, I think, be really great players, but not great coaches. When did you know you're a great violin player? When did you know you wanted to teach violin to others?
Well, teaching in a way is sharing your experience and knowledge with others. And I like sharing. People always joke sharing is caring. I really do. I like to connect with people. I like to inspire if I can. And if my message resonates with a certain group of people, with one violin student or with 20 students in my ear training class, that makes me happy, right? If the students can see you as a kind of a role model, if you can open the opportunities, the possibilities to the students, then the students will do their work. And so looking back at my student years, when I was a student, there were some teachers who inspired me to become a better human being. And then there were teachers who really gave me another valuable lesson, what not to do in their classrooms. And I'm sure you've had both of those types of teachers, right?
I'm an education minor, so everything you're describing is stuff that I've talked about in classes with teachers, different teachers I've had and what I've learned from them, and even learning from the ones who I didn't feel like I learned from much more. I actually did learn a lot and what not to do and how to take certain things from each teacher that I've had.
Exactly, and that's it. So when I was a student, I was thinking, okay, what would I do when I become a teacher? You want to emulate the good qualities of the teachers that inspire rather than the teachers that are grumpy, upset, easily angered. That's also on the student part. I have students now in my classrooms who throw a fit over the tiniest little thing. And so we as educators need to both guide them but also try to bring them us to elevate them to a level where they can see that there is better. That anger really does not accomplish much.
You're in the School of Music. I know here at San Francisco State University, you've been teaching here. You said like 20 years?
22 years.
22 years. So here, I haven't ventured much into the School of Music, but here in the School of Liberal and Creative Arts, we felt the effects of the budget cuts. How is the School of Music coping with that?
Oh, we've been decimated. When I came here 22 years ago, we were about 20 full-time professors. About 20. Now, think about this. Today, we're 4.
Wow. 20 to 4.
20 to 4 in the last 20 years. And so the administration, and I'm holding the administration accountable up to a point, of course, a certain point. Some things are beyond their control, of course. But for administrators, whenever there is a budget crisis, the first thing for them is cut, right? Chop. Why not go solicit private funds? Why not work with sponsors? Why not be creative to expand rather than always cut and eliminate programs? Mm-hmm. So San Francisco State, unfortunately, loves to cut. Yeah. When I came here, the president was a visionary man, President Corrigan. He had high respect for music and for all the arts, really. The provost was a great man, John Gemello, one of the best provosts I've ever worked with, a man of vision. He would come to us and say, let me know what your needs are. I will try to do my best to figure out how your program can thrive and prosper. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, administrators come to us and say, we need to make cuts. And so we will eliminate this degree and that degree. And now they're using this terminology, redeployment. Have you heard of that? Redeployment.
Yeah. I actually wrote a story about some of the professors in our department being redeployed into different ones. Yeah.
Right. So are we in the military? Is this the military now? Are we turning into a corporation?
Right.
Are the administrators forgetting that this is service to the community, to students? And when I heard this term, redeployment, where are we being redeployed? I have many ridiculous stories that I can share, but it will take a long time, so maybe we'll do it another time.
Maybe talk another time about that. What do you think the future of the School of Music is then? Are you hopeful, or how do you feel?
Well, judging from the trend, I'm not feeling too well about it, but I will do my best. I will dedicate all of my energy as much as I can to try to have a healthy communication, if we can build some healthy conversations with the upper administration. Sometimes they're not listening to us. And all they look at is numbers. And so if they see lower numbers, and I'm not talking about music. Actually, music's numbers are pretty healthy. I mean, we have about 300 majors or so.
Wow.
Right? And so when they look at numbers, they always want more, right? So they're looking at their Excel spreadsheets. Mm-hmm. And so they're always comparing, English has this many numbers, and broadcasting has this many numbers, and communication has this many. So there's always comparing, but you can't compare tomatoes and potatoes and oranges. You can't. Each one of these areas needs its own specific, every area has specific needs. And so if we're constantly being compared to other majors, that's a race to the bottom.
We can move on to something a little more positive, because I want to get into your photography and your pilots. Yeah. When I was reading up on you, it was crazy. A teacher of violin, you played all over the world playing violin, but you also have kind of this second passion almost with flying and photography. Where did that start?
Well, as I said, I was doing my doctorate, my PhD in upstate New York, in Rochester, at the University of Rochester. That was about 25 years ago or so. And I found that everyone around me was constantly talking about music. And that was becoming overwhelming for not only me, but for the people around me. It was music, musicians, composers, musicians, composers, every day. And I needed a better balance. I wanted to find a more balanced way to grow as a human being. And I thought, I'd like to expand in a different area as well. I had a lot of energy. So what can I do? And I started thinking, I started brainstorming, and I thought that I've always had passion for planes, aviation, travel, and I thought, okay, I'd like to learn how to fly planes. I mean, why not? We learn how to drive cars, why not learn how to fly planes? Right?
Yeah.
You just get wings. And so I went to the local flight school and I said to them, here I am, I'd like to become a commercial pilot. And I'll get the licenses, and once I become a commercial pilot and flight instructor, then I'll figure out what to do with those licenses. But I want to be ready. I want to have more skills. And that's exactly what happened.
What's the process like getting a pilot's license? What do you have to do?
There are different steps. You start flying, you learn a lot. There are a number of exams that you have to take, different levels. You start with private pilot, then you go for instrument rating, you go for commercial license, you go for flight instructor certificate. You can expand, fly other aircraft, bigger, smaller. I also tried some helicopters as well. So, you expand in the area of aviation. Now I have about 5,000 flight hours.
Wow. That's
which is much less than my violin hours. I have probably about 35,000 hours of violin.
You've been playing violin 45 years, yeah.
Right. So, you gain a lot of hours. And of course, I have probably 10,000 hours studying about aviation.
Wow.
Or more. I mean, it doesn't come easy. And so once I started flying and I was instructing, I was a flight instructor, very active flight instructor for a while. I was spending many hours with other folks in the cabin, teaching them how to fly planes. And then I started snapping pictures with my phone. And so I thought, this is really neat. I'm seeing these wonderful views from up above here. I'd like to perhaps invest a little money and get a digital camera. And so about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I bought my first DSLR. And I started taking photographs. And then they got better and better. And so then I upgraded with my camera equipment. And suddenly my photos started looking even better on the screen, right? So now I'm mostly focusing on capturing images from above while flying my own Piper Warrior plane. That's a single-engine plane. It's a 50-year-old plane, 1976. Wow. Exactly 50 years today.
Wow.
Yep. It's in great condition. And I fly around the U.S. And that's a passion that has now developed into a, I'd say, semi-professional level. The photos that I capture pay for the flights.
Oh, okay.
And so it kind of pays for itself. I'm not making money out of it, but it's okay. I'm loving what I'm doing.
I was going to ask. So when you go up you take these flights to take these photos. You're flying the plane while also taking the photos.
Correct.
How tough is that? Because I can't imagine it's hard to drive and look at your photos, let alone fly a plane. And how tough is it?
Well, let me put it this way: it's much easier than driving and trying to take photos.
Right.
Driving, you can crash into a million things around you. You can crash into other cars, pedestrians, people, streets. Right. You in the plane, in the air, there's nothing to crash into. So you have a lot of freedom to maneuver and play and capture pictures. Now, the challenging part is knowing the airspaces, communicating with air traffic control and other airplanes nearby. Wow. So, multitasking, and that's nothing new. If you're a musician, you multitask all the time. I mean, if you just imagine for a second a violinist, you have the right hand, you have the left hand. They're doing two completely different things. Right? And then you have to memorize the music. And then you play with another musician or an orchestra and a conductor. So you have to know their parts as well. There's a lot of multitasking. And so the same idea in the cockpit is translated just slightly different language.
There was something that I was literally going to ask. One of my questions was that is there any transferable skills from violin to flying planes? And I was thinking about when I was going to ask, and I was like, I couldn't think of any myself. But it's really interesting that you found the transferable skills between both.
Absolutely, all of it. And not only that, but when you're thinking about music, when I'm teaching my students, what do I talk about in the classroom? I talk about patterns, notes. I talk about lines. I talk about colors. I talk about composition. What do you talk? Isn't that the same language in photography? That's exactly what we talk in photography. So the language actually is quite similar.
Wow, it's amazing the way that
parallels. Yeah, I mean it's really very, very similar. And when I look at certain photographs, I really see music.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I'll show it to you.
Where's your? I know we talked before we started recording about different places you've been to take photos. Has there been a couple of places that really stood out to you that you've really liked to take photos at?
Well, there have been some very interesting, spectacular locations. Last January, I was in Egypt and I was flying over the Great Pyramids. I mean, it's not a $1 million view. That's a $1 billion view. First of all, it's very difficult to get that kind of opportunity. It's a highly restricted airspace, and so I had to find like a motor gliders. So I couldn't find a plane there, but I found some guys flying motor gliders, and they got the permission to fly, and then they allowed me also to bring my camera, which the Egyptian authorities are very picky about. So there are sometimes these opportunities that arise that are just so exciting. And then, of course, I've flown all over the U.S., really, all over the West Coast and Southwest. And I flew my plane all the way to Key West a few years ago with a few stops on the way. And then I stopped in some very interesting, fascinating towns in the middle of nowhere. I mean, really, literally. And I have a folding bike in my plane. And so, yeah, so I will often land in an airport that's just completely in the middle of nowhere. Mm-hmm. And so I'll get my bike and I'll ride to the nearby town, like 5 miles or 6 miles or whatever. And so the idea is that once I have the bike, you could ride to a nearby hotel, spend a night there, and the next morning you can fly out of that place. Some of my favorite places are Death Valley, for example, or the Painted Desert in Arizona. Or, I mean, there's just too many to count. The list is so long.
Yeah.
So I go for natural beauty, patterns, for color, right? I also explore how we damage ourselves. So I call myself somewhat environmental photographer because it's important to bring attention to issues that are of great concern to humanity. There are a lot of polluters out there. Mm-hmm. And so it's not like I want to expose anyone, but sometimes a picture is worth 1,000 words, right?
Right.
And so if I tell you, do you know how much these guys are polluting over in, I don't know, Oregon, for example? Yeah, sure, they are. But if I show you the picture, that may have or create a deeper emotional impact. And so some of the images are very thought-provoking.
Sounds a lot like photojournalism then.
That's right.
Just last couple questions. When you go out and you travel on your plane, are you doing it on like assignment? Because I know you published by the National Geographic, Smithsonian, published at the airport. Are these trips that you want to take? I decide I want to go to Egypt, I want to go to these places, and I'll take photos, and if you enter them in the contest. So is it an assignment thing, or is this just I want to do this and that's where I'm going to go?
Yeah, I've had both. Some have been on assignment, some I have done for my own personal projects, and it always feels better when I go for my own personal projects because I pour all of my passion and heart into the project. And once I have the final product, then I can pitch it to magazines, to the media, or enter in contests. And it feels very very healthy because I'm pitching a product, I'm pitching an image that tells a story. And if it's a captivating enough image, it captures the attention of editors. Versus assignment. They send you, they pay you, and now there's this extra pressure. I have to deliver. But what if I don't meet their expectations? Mm-hmm. Right? There's that pressure. So I think for me personally, when I work at my own pace, I always tend to produce better results.
Wow. Yeah, I could see as a journalist myself, I could definitely understand stories that I've been assigned to. There's a different pressure than ones like I want to go write that story. So exactly. I could definitely understand that.
Right.
Just last one. What's the kind of the future for you in both violin, teaching, photography? Has there been anywhere you haven't played violin? Has there been any place that you haven't taken photos that you want to get done? You want to go to?
Again, the list is very long for both, but the future looks bright. There are many concerts coming up. I'm going actually on Thursday. I'm going to Salt Lake City. I'll be performing 3 concerts, Beethoven sonatas with a brilliant pianist. Her name is Vedrana Subotic. She's from the Balkans as well, originally. We recently started performing together. And so we have 3 concerts in Utah. and one of them is in school, where I will be not only performing but presenting my photos.
Wow.
So I do these kind of collaborative experiences. First half of the performance is a concert, music, and second half is photo presentation. Why do I do that? Well, for one thing, I enjoy connecting, as I said, with people and young people. It's really wonderful to inspire students and younger kids especially, so they can think big. No limits. I can do whatever I want to do, just as long as you focus your energy in creativity, something that's not only challenging but worthwhile, right? So that's one of the coming up concerts. And I have many other concerts coming up, certainly. And I'd like to fly more. It's not always easy. For example, today is a rainy day.
Yeah.
Can't go anywhere, right?
No.
But I can edit my pictures that I've taken before. I can practice my violin. In other words, 24 hours is really not enough if you want to excel in more than one area. I mean, even for one area, it's not enough. But sometimes time is limited. And I like sleeping too, right? It's healthy. It's wonderful. So if you can make the best out of it. I mean, the other thing is when I travel for music, I connect with people. I meet new friends, or you create friendships. Sometimes these friendships last a lifelong, many years of, the whole life really. And so the connection with other human beings is very important. And so I'd like to continue doing all of the above, really.
It must be incredible. You mentioned the concerts coming up. It must be incredible to go play violin, one of your passions, and then show photos your other.
Yeah.
Seems like an incredible life to live.
It's wonderful. Yeah. I'm inspired. And so that's another thing. If you feel inspired, if you're happy with your passions, and if you deliver that kind of energy to the audiences, it will resonate with at least a few of them. So that's an accomplished mission.
Well, I want to thank you for giving me some of your time. I know you're a busy guy, so I appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Thank you.
It's been Eddie Monares again for Express Magazine. Look forward to more podcast episodes.